Okay, let me just start this one off by saying, what the heck is going on? At this point, you've been to an abandoned cinema, a Russian facility, even gone over to a lighthouse in Siberia, but now you're seemingly in an ancient temple in the middle of nowhere. But this map really set in motion where the story could actually end up or where the next map could take you. If in the last map you were in a Siberian lighthouse and in the next one you're in a golden city temple in the middle of nowhere, it really tells you could end up anywhere in your next map. But when you spawn in, you will be greeted with the beauty of Shangri-La, with leaves falling off trees, dragonflies flying all around, birds in the distance, even these little monkeys that are watching you wherever you go in the entire map. I honestly don't think we can ever say there's ever been another map even slightly like Shangri-La. And another thing it does straight away is it puts a treasure right within arm's reach, but you're not able to get to it right now. You can see Pack-a-Punch the moment you spawn in, but there is no way to get to it at this immediate moment. But you will be rewarded if you look at this like an ancient temple puzzle, where there are these repeating symbols that clearly are the way to open up Pack-a-Punch. I'm not sure if I have to mention this anymore, but if you haven't watched my other videos, I am and always will be part of the M14 gang. Gotta love those sneaky little fast travels for when you turn on the power. One thing that will never be denied by any player, no matter how much they hate this map for its difficulty alone, is how beautiful the map looks from a design perspective. Anyone that says otherwise is just lying. And then this map has two boss zombies in it. The first one is the napalm zombie, in which it'll get pulled straight out of the fiery depths of hell itself and come at you at such a slow pace that it's sort of intimidating when you see it just walking straight at you. But also it has a second effect in which it will kamikaze itself when you get a bit too close to it or if you shoot it, and it will leave this fiery pit on the ground that will kill absolutely anything that goes through it. It essentially acts like a mobile trap. And the second one on the map is the white-eyed shriekers. You will hear these things coming. They will scream at you, this vortex of pain that will also sort of concuss you. Just imagine if there was a concussion grenade constantly going off at you, chasing you around the map. And I know what you're thinking, how can I give both of those two a win? They're awful to deal with. But that's the reason they get a win. They were one of the boss zombies that made you have to change the way you play immediately and kill them as soon as possible, otherwise you would probably die. And there are two other small things about the boss zombies that I've always loved, which is that the napalm zombie, when it's close by, will leave this fiery ring around your screen, and you can hear the crispy fires coming off of it, and it feeds into the fear of this map. Whereas the Shrieker zombie just straight up screamed this at you, and make sure you're aware that it's nearby and it's going to probably kill you. To some extent, I would say there's actually a third boss to the map, which is the monkeys. They do act in a very strange way in the map as a feature, and they do cause you pain at times where you really don't want it. Whenever a power-up drops on the floor, it could be a nuke, it could be a double point, it could be anything, a monkey will run across the map and try and steal this from you. You have a limited amount of time to pick up the power-up, otherwise it will get taken away. But the reason it gets a win is that if you kill the monkey at the right point, you can get the power-up that you want at that specific moment in time, and not just a carpenter. I also fully believe the reason this was ever put in was everyone would say, guys, reload your weapons, I've got a max ammo. And you would leave the max ammo on the ground. Whereas on this map, you cannot do that, so it really changed the game. But there was this really great Easter egg where if you picked up the power-up and let the monkey hit you after before it went back to the temple, the monkey would get blasted straight into the sky. Perhaps a teaser to Moon. Also, this is probably one of the easiest ways in Black Ops 1 to get a perkaholic. You are able to get perk bottle drops by shooting the monkey at specific points in its cycle and getting a perk bottle from it. Alternatively, you can just kill the monkeys whenever you want and get 500 points. And lastly, the monkeys around the map are not just for aesthetic. You can kill them, you get no reward, you get nothing for it, but you get the satisfaction of knowing that you killed one of these little fuckers. Man, opening up a temple door in a zombies map was something I never thought I would do, but it's great. And if we take a journey into the mine area, you will actually see element 115 rocks and generators. Now, it doesn't make sense for them to be in a temple or in a place like this, but with element 115's ability to temporarily displace things, it makes total sense that things like generators and stuff got sent back in time to this place and they were using them. And also this map feeds into the whole Mayans having alien technology to help them build pyramids and things. I feel like there are some lore implications here that the people of Shangri-La were actually cannibals, but I can't prove it. But based on this table, I could believe it. Like, they have a wild boar that's dead here, but they also have these containers and people on the same table. Now, the map has just a simple power switch, so that gets a win, but it actually has two, so let's give it a double win. But for anyone eagle-eyed enough, you'll actually realize why there's two power switches. If you look at the spawn room, you'll see these two dragons, and when you turn on the power, water will come dripping down, which will actually turn on these wheels and get them spinning to provide power to the actual map. Now, it would be absolutely correct to start removing wind for the Pack-a-Punch on this map. It's a dreadful thing. but it's very thematic, it fits the map perfectly, and for that I'll give it a win alone. Let me explain what I mean. So you need to go and find these spinning monkey heads and stand on this pad. They'll stop the monkey head, but then it will also trigger the pack-a-punch to have a timer before it will run out, and you will get flown away by a brush of water. Can I deny that this is a really cool pack-a-punch sequence? No, but it's the fact that you have to repeat this process every single time you want to do pack-a-punch, and also the fact that if there are more than one player in the lobby, you have to do that on each pad that many times. Honestly, I think it's a great pack-a-punch, but it loses novelty so quickly. But if there's something in this map that novelty will never wear off, it's the vista point, it's the beauty, it's the way this map looks. It doesn't matter which corner of the map you're on, whenever you look around, you will see something that looks just great and gorgeous, like this view of the waterfall, or the view in the distance of these mountains. It's just a great visual all around. And if I'm entirely honest, when comparing it with its Black Ops 3 remastered version, I don't think that it's aged that badly. I think that this map has aged so well in comparison to some of the other remasters, and it deserves credit for that. On Shang, you have 3 different forms of fast travel as well. You can stand on one of these geysers and it'll just blast you into a new location. You can also get on the cart and go through the mine shaft and hear all these little creepy voices of children, which is probably influenced by the 115 and Samantha. And lastly, you have a water slide that you can slide down at any point in time to quickly get to a new location also. And I suppose to an extent it actually also unlocks 2 shortcuts, because the geysers, you can also fall back into them to get back to where you came from. I mean, putting a sign that says don't press is always going to be a sign to press. And we all know it was absolutely top tier funny when someone tried to use this button when someone was at the mystery box here. I love how it's not exactly obvious what death warning this is trying to stop you from. There are so many in this map and there's a lot to be aware of. Although looking at some of the spikes around the map, I can definitely take the hint. And although this could certainly be a monkey skull, maybe it's nice to believe it might actually be part of the Vril. Core memory unlocked, praying that Juggernaut just did not spawn here. Did you know there's barbed wire barricades all over the map that have cans that say Treyarch on them? One of the unique things about this map is that if you bought the claymores off the map, you get these skinned versions that had spikes shooting out of them instead.
Nikolai will stomp on your soul!
And now we get to the wonder weapon. And now before I do the win counter, I just want to say, this wonder weapon is one of the most iconic things to remember in all of Zombies, because it had multiple abilities in which you would shoot it and zombies would become really small and you could just run them over, which is why it was commonly referred to as the baby gun. Or you could shoot them when they were really small and explode them. Alternatively, you could do this to an entire horde and send them all blasting straight into the sky. This gun was ridiculous. But because it could kill an entire horde, it also gets 24 wins onto the win counter. Another thing was that it was obviously pack-punchable, so you could get more ammo quite easily. And I'd be stupid not to mention the design of this weapon. It kind of like it's breathing, a bit alien-y to some extent, and it has a dragon on it. The name of the gun is also a set of coordinates that seem to link to exactly where the map is located. But we will get into the location a little bit later. Can we all agree that running across this bridge is just one of those things that sticks into your mind? And this next part is going to be something very petty, but I'm going to remove a win for every second it takes me to run across this sludgy mud pit.
Right! God, I have trouble.
6 seconds. Legitimately 6 seconds. Now, obviously, let's say hypothetically you don't just run across the mud pit. There are these little stone tablets in the floor that will create a path for you. But then you've got to pray that they're taking you to the right location. Now, although I think that this little area is kind of cool and it is very interesting in a zombie map, this is awful. Every single time I run across it to try to get to the other side, it takes me back to the place I came from. It takes me all the way to the other side of the map that I don't need to go to. This is annoying as fuck. But I'm being a bit harsh. This is a temple map. It is meant to be a bit Indiana Jonesy. It's meant to have that theme, and it does that perfectly, so I will award the wins back to where it should be at this point. I wonder how many people have had the game over message appear specifically in these 2 points near the spawn area where the spikes shoot out of the ground. But considering that that's a skill issue, I have to give it a win for a very fun map mechanic. And as discussed in previous videos, every single map moving forward will have a music Easter egg. And on this one, I can actually play it, unlike Call of Dead that got copyright strikes straight away and I had to remove it. But for this one, Elena Sagman and Kevin Sherwood are always a win. you're wondering about the drop-off of quality in the video in the background, this is actually from the official Treyarch music video for In the Jungle. It really fits perfectly with this map, but I cannot play that audio. But a jungle map with the song In the Jungle in the background perfectly fits a win, so. And the video also shows us some cut content, such as the waterfall potentially being a trap. Everyone knows in video games, if there is a waterfall, you need to walk through it and you will find a temple door.
Whoa! Okay, what the hell just happened?
Why does everything look blue?
Look, there is an eclipse.
Fascinating. But look, there's a giant meteor on top of the temple. I must have it in my pocket.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I'm going to guess at this point you've probably noticed I'm not the biggest fan of Shangri-La as a whole. But its Easter egg was something phenomenal to try and experience for the first time as a player. You would have to go into Eclipse mode, which would already turn the map into this beautiful new take on the map. Although it's just a simple skybox change to some extent, it just adds so much more just changing the tones of the map like this. And once you go into Eclipse mode, the characters will tell you that you want to try and get that element 115 rock that's on top of the temple. The problem is it's ginormous, it is huge. So the idea of being able to collect that at some point, you're trying to figure out exactly how and why, which once again feeds into this ancient treasure in an ancient temple feeling. I'm going to be nice and not remove a win for the fact to do Eclipse mode you need 4 players unless you're using a mod, simply because Eclipse mode is so cool. Eclipse mode started one of the biggest debates in all of zombies, I believe, which is Shangri-La set on the planet Mars? As of 2025, it has officially been shadow confirmed that Shangri-La was set on Mars, but the reason people thought this was because the moon in the sky in this image right here of the skybox really matched up with the same shape and size of Phobos, which was one of the moons of Mars as well. But that wasn't the only thing. In Black Ops 1, the assets for the Shangri-La Mountains were also called Mars Mountains. And Jimmy Zielinski, who was the Zombies director at the time, directly tweeted about these mountains. If you're wondering how they shadow confirmed that Shangri-La is set on Mars, I won't go into that in this video because it's not specifically about the map of Shangri-La in Black Ops 1, but I might do a video on that in the future. Back to the Black Ops 1 Easter egg, this is the story of Brock and Gary, who got trapped in a time loop trying to find and explore Agartha. I'm not going to play the radios of Brock and Gary throughout this video, as there's quite a lot of details in it and it's quite a long period of time. Some of the radios are about 2 minutes each. But there are 8 radios in the map, and I will give a win for how much they went into this story, as it was very, very engaging at the time. And also, let's not pretend the developers did not know what they were doing when they named the characters Brock and Gary. But going back into the Easter egg steps, we don't give wins on this channel for just being an Easter egg step. That wouldn't make sense. But if it's thematic to the map and it makes sense to have a win against it, then it will get one. But for this map, almost every step does technically deserve a win. There is fun little parts like meteorites falling straight out of the sky and blasting into a mountain, or you having to follow the slides down and fill up a pressure plate. You even have to use the trip mines at certain points to plug up holes to fill up pressure to make sure that it fills up with water correctly. The map is very, very chaotic with its Easter egg steps, and it's something that should be applauded because future maps would eventually take this sort of idea and just keep on expanding on this and doing more things like this. Shangri-La's Easter egg feels like a true Easter egg where all these steps are so fantastical in nature or mystical because they're not meant to make sense in this map. It's the first time the zombie story really leaned into a fantastical nature with temples and aliens and things along those lines, officially putting them into the story. And I love that it was probably someone at the studio's idea to just go, let's just put a Treyarch logo as the spinning little golden thing around these balls. No one will notice. Although if there was a step that was going to lose a win, it has to be walking a napalm zombie throughout the map. I hated doing this every single time because I would always end up exploding him and having to wait a few rounds. However, that one step does not outweigh the fact that I love this Easter egg. The steps are just so fun and so puzzly that it makes it great. But one in particular has got to go to the final step of the Easter egg, where you have to hit 4 gongs around the map in a specific order, which will make the balls start resonating. And once they are resonating, you need to shoot them with the shrink ray to make this really wonderful sound, shoot around the map, and then shrink the giant meteorite. So the mystery from the beginning about how Richtofen's going to get it in his pocket was in front of you the whole time. The shrink rays in the map and you have these resonating orbs to power it up. It is a great solid Easter egg where the steps are fantastical but still make sense and they are fun to follow. And if done correctly and you've now blown up the wall to get into the back of the temple, you will be rewarded with the first ever true Easter egg main quest reward of a perkaholic, where you'll be gifted all perks in the map, and they are permanent. Now, the issue is only one person will get the perkaholic when you pick up the focusing stone, but this map is unique for another reason. Now, I mentioned time loops before that Brock and Gary were stuck in one, but you can also stick yourself in one in this Easter egg by picking up this radio. If you listen to it, it will give you the backstory of Brock and Gary a bit further than you did previously yet before, but it'll also allow you to restart the entire Easter egg quest and do the steps multiple times in the same game. There is also the added detail that Richtofen's name is inscribed into this temple, meaning that the time travel shenanigans are not over with just yet. And part of me believes that the whole crew cycle that goes on throughout Primus or Mob of the Dead originates to an extent from what happened here. Brock and Gary were going through a very similar situation of trying to find Agatha and ended up stuck in a time loop forever. Maybe there's something to think about.
We must right the wrongs of the past to proceed. Joy!
So if you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know I typically go through all the map's audio files and find all the quotes that I think are really fun and make wins on their own. But I'm not going to do that going forward. It's something I've done in almost every video, and it's made me realise that it makes some of the videos feel a bit samey, and I don't really want the vibe of the videos to be that you'll get the same formula every single time. When I made the Call of the Dead video and I made it about all the Easter egg quotes from behind the door, that felt relevant to the presence of Call of the Dead. And in this map, it doesn't really have that same sort of energy. You're in this map because it's difficult, because it's a temple, because it's got an Easter egg that is just grand and filled with time travel. You're not in here to listen to Nikolai talk about Takeo throwing up. But if you were, here's that line.
Finally, we're out of that damn closet.
Yeah, but it was nice break, no?
Not for me. That was a horrible experience. Ugh.
You just need to bite down on something.
But before I close out the video, I do want to talk about that in a few different ways. The map is one of those that you will play for the way it plays. You want to play it because it's difficult. You want to try and get further because it's such a difficult map to do it in. It would be a flex to your friends if you managed to make it to around 30 on this map, and that's something that is held throughout Zombies history. Shangri-La is a difficult map, and it always has been. And the Easter egg is also something that is ridiculously difficult to do, even if you've got a team of 4 players. This whole map is built around the idea of communication, and a lot of steps revolve around needing 4 players to do a lot of different things, including the Pack-a-Punch. So this map will be a staple for difficulty throughout future zombie maps. And yes, there were maps before this like Nacht or Verrucht that are technically harder to do. But this one had a lot more to it that made it easier, and it's still one of the hardest maps of all time. And I couldn't possibly close the video out without mentioning the Konami code. It was an Easter egg that was found way later on, where if you put in a series of inputs that I'll put on the screen right now, it would explode all the monkeys around the map. It was something that was hidden away and had to be data mined, but it's such a fun Easter egg that no one ever figured out.